All right, let's get started. Stairway to Heaven guitar solo. Let's take it one measure at a time. The first measure is going to start out with the 7th fret bend on the G string, and I'm going to hold this for 2 beats. The idea here is that I want to do a whole bend or a full bend to the 9th fret, which is the E. So if you get that in your ear, and then when I get there, sometimes I'll do a little shake. Just add a little something. The next beat is going to be 4 16th notes, starting with a 5th fret on the E string. Then on the B string, it's going to be an 8th fret to a 5th fret pull off. Then on the G string, it's going to be a 7th fret to the 5th fret pull off. Now the 7th fret is next on the D string, but I want you to see that I'm going to switch with my middle finger here, so that my ring finger can go back to the 7th fret, G string, pull off. So that measure will sound something like this. One more time, a little bit slower. The next measure is going to start out with a 7th fret to 5th fret pull off on the D string. And then I'm going to end it on the 8th fret of the A string with my pinky. Pretty cool. The next phrase is going to start out with the 8th fret bend on the B string, and it's going to do a double hit of the 8th fret on the E string, something like this. Now the idea here is not to do it randomly, but to get it in time. So we're starting on the and of 3. So if I count it out, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So from that hold, it'll sound something like this. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to bend on the next measure, the 8th fret, a full bend with my pinky, and I'm going to resolve it back to a straight, just a normal 8th fret to 5th fret pull. Pick on the E string. So it'll sound something like this. The next phrase is a little bit tricky sometimes. We see it in the sheet music where it starts at the 6th fret and it slides to the 10. All I really care about there is the 10th fret on the B string, but I'm using the 6th fret as a kind of a starting point. So I want you to see when I do this from the beginning of the measure, I'm going to squeeze my hand here to get the 6th fret with the ring finger, and I'm going to slide with the ring finger to the 10th fret. Then I'm going to end on the 8th fret of the E string, and I want you to see the dot on the 8th note here. So I want to hold it a little bit longer, and I'm really going to connect this 10th fret to the next measure. So before I get to the next measure, let me play that 3rd measure by itself. The next measure is going to start out on the E string, 8th fret. I'm going to do the 10th fret to 8th fret pull off on the B string, and then I'm going to hit the ring finger on the 10th fret of the G, and I'm going to use the index finger to slide from the 8th fret to the 10th fret back on the B string. So these 2 beats will sound something like this. I'm just going to hold it a little bit longer. So if I can, I'm going to play this full phrase starting from the 8th fret on the B string to the 10th fret on the B string. Slow. The 3rd phrase is going to start out on the 7th fret of the G string, a bend up, just like we did in the beginning. I want you to notice that this time it's only an 8th note. So I want the character of the bend, but just a little bit shorter. Connecting that to the 5th fret on the E string, 8th fret to 5th fret pull off on the B string, 7th fret to 5th fret, pull off on the G string. Now I'm going to switch again with my middle finger to the 7th fret on the D. So I can easily pull the ring finger and the index on the G string, 7 to 5. Continuing 7 to 5 on the D. But this time, 7th fret on the A. And I'm going to stop on the 5th fret to 7th fret back on the D. So this little phrase starts with a bend, and then we have this cool little descending A minor pentatonic riff. Now I want you to hear I'm stopping on that A right there. Slow, of course. Pause. Then we're going to continue the G string, 5th fret, back to the 7th fret on the D string, and I'm going to hit the 5th fret again twice on the G string, but I want you to hear a little bit more space there, as they are 8th notes and not 16ths. So in context, the full phrase will start something like this. Then I'm going to continue on the E string, 5th fret, pull off on the B string to 5th fret, 8th fret to start, 7th fret to 5 on the G string, 7th fret back on the D string with my middle finger, and I'm going to come back with a little style on the G string, starting on the 5 with a ghost note, hammer on to 7, pull off to 5. So that little phrase, kind of cool. Then I'm going to do 2 descends on the 7th fret to 5th fret, pull off on the D string, and then my pinky resolves back on the 8th fret of the A string. So this measure will sound something like this. If I can, I'm going to go back to the previous phrase and put it into context so you can hear how much of a stop that G string allows. Pretty cool little phrase. All right, the next phrase is going to start out on a hammer-on from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. I'm really using the 5th fret as a starting point, and I want it to be a little bit quicker. I don't really want to hear a 5 to the 7. I really want to hear 7 with a little style. The next part is going to start out with the 5th fret on the G string, and then the 6th fret on the B string. Cool little note right there. The next beat is going to be 4 16th notes. 7th fret, pull off to 5 on the G string. Now I'm going to use the ring finger on the 7th fret of the D to go back to the 5th fret on the G. So it'll just be 4 little 16th notes. The next phrase, I'm going to use the ring finger that should be in the 7th position, and I'm going to slide it a whole step to the 9th fret. And then there, my middle finger will be in place to get the B on the 8th fret. And I want you to hear this little 3-note phrase. I like that, because the 3-note rhythmic motif is going to be repeated on the 12th fret, 12th fret on the G, 14th fret on the G, and then middle finger, 13th fret on the B. So that little 3-note little motif will be... This measure will sound something like this. The next phrase is going to start out on the 15th fret of the B string with a little bend. Then I'm going to hit a straight note, 15th fret to the 13th fret. Notice the first one in 8th note being a little bit longer than the next two. The next beat is going to start on the 15th fret, 13th fret, 13th fret again, and then I'm going to go to the 15th fret on the E string and bend that note. So that second beat will sound something like this. And I like that bend because it starts on the second beat, but it continues the bend through the third beat. And then I'm going to hit that same exact note, 15, but this time no bend. to the 12th fret, both on the E string. Then I'm going to go back, and one of my favorite parts is this 15th fret bend, and then again 15th fret no bend on the B string. Cool little phrase. You know, a little style to that. And then I'm going to go 13th fret on the B string, 14th fret on the G string. So that fourth beat will sound something like this. Really, I want you to think about 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 2 bends are a little bit held, you know. But you can hear that third bend right in and out.